Um, so I think there was always a bit of, am I making enough to be fully sustainable off of this at this point? And I think that took a lot of just trusting that it's going to continue to grow. And so I think that's been the main struggle, even in just the wedding industry, not even just
Yeah.
photography. But also I know in the job industry, products are skyrocketing. So it's just navigating, your budget might have to look a little different now. And
So today we are talking with Leah, an impressive small business owner, Gen Z, former athlete, coach as well, who is going to be sharing some life advice. And we're going to go back and forth relating all this to money. But if you are dealing with money stress and paying down debt and you don't know where to go, stick around. This is for you. We're going to go over some tactical things you can be doing today to help you relieve your money stress and also some behavioral talk because it all starts with attitude. Stay tuned. But we're really talking to people with money stress. They are looking to change their habits. They want a different outcome. They need different action steps. And just seeing people that have, oh, they talk about side hustles and, oh, it's so easy and it's enough, but there's challenges with it. But real quick, before we even get in further, I want anybody viewing, put in the comments, what's your biggest financial frustration? Are you money mess and stress? Is it, I am bad at budgeting? Or are you trying to destroy your debt? So some of those three, comment those in there so we know who we're talking to because I read all the comments and want to actually jump in there in that sense of finance, fitness, building a business habits, and it starts small and you mess up and you get back up and you figure things out, you get feedback. But if your desire is there, if that passion to get a different outcome is there, you're going to push through it. And that's really who we're speaking to. So how long has it been since you either I got started with, I want to do photography. Talk about that with where you started side, you had a job and you were doing a side hustle.
yeah,
And then what other pieces all of a sudden fell into place that said, hey, I'm going to take a bigger leap.
yeah. So I started photography in 2020. I was a 2020 COVID graduate from high school. So kind of the whole normalcy of what a 20 or what a graduate goes through was kind of very altered and
Mhm.
shifted. After high school, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do still, even having applied for colleges and having that kind of be like the next thing you're supposed to do as a high schooler. So, I think there was a lot of pressure around what you're supposed to do right after high
Yeah.
school and ultimately decided that that just isn't what I wanted to do, and started doing photography. I actually was very interested in film and cinematography first. That was kind of my first love. I loved making YouTube videos growing up. I loved doing anything that was creative when it came to making videos or things like that. And so basically just started doing fashion shoots with my friends. That was kind of how I got started. Getting to work with friends was really fun because there was no pressure to it. It was just me being able to come up with ideas and put those into reality. And I didn't really ever think I could, do photography as a job until I got my first senior. I think I made a website, very low profile website, and just started posting on Instagram, and got my first senior through that. And then basically from the first time I posted my first senior, it toppled with word of mouth and got me a few more seniors that year. And then the next year kept growing and kept getting me more senior photography, which was really cool. And just by word of mouth, people were able to share with their friends, and I was able to get clients just kind of rolling in because of one person starting that. So that's really where it started. And then wedding photography came along a little bit later, about 2 to 3 years later. But yeah, just from the start, I think it was just a passion that turned into, oh, I could do this for a real living career.
Cool. Yeah. And again, knowing you for years and everyone thinks that they all stick in the same lane and just giving people the opportunity to try things, go for stuff,
Hmm.
trust your gut a little bit, put yourself out there, which is scary at times. But also just start small. So you started with your first senior. Um, were those paid gigs or were there the first couple like, oh, I just want some to see how I do? Do you know initially?
Yeah, the I think the first couple that I did were very small paid gigs. I think
Mhm.
if anything, they were like just a little bit of gas money kind of
Sure.
thing. I think the first four were family or friends or people that had heard about me through family
Yeah.
or friends. And then my first like paid stranger kind of senior was a full paid gig, which was sweet. And yeah, just starting small and not putting too much pressure on, having this be like my income right away. It was kind of just a side thing, was great to be able to just have it still be a form of income, but not necessarily my main income that I
No,
relied
and
on.
that's so important right there. So right here as a money coach, helping people out, they want to even know, like, I don't know why I'm broke. I have money stress. Where do I even start? Well, I have a little solution for you. It's called the Why Am I Broke Solution Sampler, but it's a speedy result of showing you a quick snapshot of where you are and where some challenges are and some solutions that I help find for you of how to get things going in your budget, where if you need control, or you're even learning how to save $1,000 to fight off those ankle biter things that happen month to month. So you can pay that $250 surprise. Oh shoot, I needed a larger oil change and something went wrong with my car that I wasn't expecting. Well, then you have an emergency fund for that. But if you're feeling stressed about that, check out the Why Am I Broke Solution Sampler. And that's a done for you service that I do for my clients. And I go a little bit more in depth for my steady clients on there, but I'm happy to do a quick snapshot for you to help you figure out where you are and some solutions that you can help take action on, because really that's the whole point. You got to take action, but you got to know where you are first before you do that. So check the link in the description or in the comments and we'll touch base. So how did you wean into the wedding side of that going, or have the confidence? Because there's a lot of people that just don't go, what if I mess up? What if I fail? What if I fail the client? What happens there? If I do a side hustle, I'm going to mess up. I'm sure you had some of those thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually originally, when I first started doing senior photography, I honestly never really saw myself doing wedding photography. I think it seemed like a space that felt like there was a lot of pressure there,
Mhm.
and like I may not be good enough at it, or I just may not be the right fit for wedding days. And the first introduction I actually had was to my sister's wedding photographer. She photographed their day, and I got a connection through her and got to meet her as well as her second photographer. So there was already two connections there, which was great. And then that second photographer brought me on as a third shooter. So I was basically doing shadowing work for her. And through that, the photography community, at least in the Cincinnati Columbus area, is a very tight knit space. There is so much room for people to just learn from each other, and so much friendship has come out of that community for me, at least. And so everyone is kind of there to help each other grow. So I think that was a really inviting space to be in right off the bat. I know not everyone may get to experience something like that, but it was definitely something that helped me feel more comfortable in it. So yeah, I got to work with her for the first time and kind of just got to see how a wedding day went. I had never really been to weddings growing up. I didn't have a ton of experience of how the day really went. But getting to work with her opened doors for getting to work with other photographers, having that experience of, shadowing with someone. And from there, it was basically a year or year and a half of second shooting. And that was kind of how I got used to how a wedding day works, the photos that you're supposed to get, and really also finding my style through wedding photography as I was still developing my style overall.
Wow.
So yeah, I think the first leap was just getting to experience it with someone who is really good at what they do already. And then from there, got a family friend who had me do their first wedding, or my first wedding, and got to experience that on my own. And then from there, through word of mouth,
Very
Instagram,
cool.
all the different outlets, to booking more weddings. And now getting to do that basically 50-50 with my seniors still. So
That's great.
yeah.
I'm sure if someone came up to you and was like, how do I, get into wedding photography? You'd be willing to share and chat. I know we've had similar chats early on back in like, well, what is business like and how do I do this? And maybe set up, should I get a website? Should we have, is it only Instagram and keeping up with all that stuff? But take that lead, reach out, ask questions. So people who are stuck, if you want a different outcome, you got to do something different. And there's a phrase I've been using lately and read it a while ago. But the key phrase is nothing changes if nothing changes. And you got to put yourself out there and just do it a little bit and get some feedback and kept going. So the main point of this is take some action. If you guys are looking, how do I need some more income. I need to help out with that. And just real quick, who I am. And I am a money coach through Dave Ramsey Solutions, certified financial master coach is the official title. But I've been a small business owner for 20 years now and a coach for over 30, developing athletes. But in the finance side of how that all developed, I help financially frustrated people who are ready for rapid debt relief, quickly gain power over their money for future wealth creation. So hitting those first steps and how to budget, how to do that. And the coach walks alongside you and even does some things for you. So that's one of the focuses and that people don't even aware of. Like, I didn't know there was a financial coach. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't do investments. I don't help you with your IRA. I help you get through payday. And how do I structure a budget and all that stuff? And like a coach, like Leah has done as well, um, start off by showing the beginners how to do this, how to gain control. We got to know where we are before we can get to where we want to go. And again, how do we tackle debt? How do we save money? So that's what a money coach like myself does. And again, tying into talking with Leah here and her expertise, someone that took action and building a business. But were there any struggles in that sense of, again, tying into some of the finance world a little bit? Were there any tight financial moments? Any of your struggles or challenges you faced on the financial side of having a side hustle and growing it, and you're being successful right now? So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I think there was always a bit of back and forth with knowing that this was a side hustle and knowing that my main income was still coming from somewhere else. So I think there was always a bit of, am I making enough to be fully sustainable off of this at this point? And I think that took a lot of just trusting that it's going to continue to grow. And I think a big part of that is investing back into your own business. I think that's a huge way to continue to grow, and is needed. I think there is this pressure, especially in the photography world, to always have the best gear, always have the best, stuff that you can possibly buy. And that's just completely not what you have to do. I think in the beginning, I started with a camera that I had had since I was maybe 16. I used that for as long as I possibly could until I was like, if people want to pay more, they're going to expect better. And so putting that money into something better was ultimately going to grow my business in the way that I wanted. So I think knowing that yes, you can save money, but also you have to know when there's a point where you do need to invest it back into your business. So yes, gear is definitely a big one for
Mm-hmm.
having the best gear and all those things, but also I recently just upgraded my gear after having it for 4 years and knowing that you don't always have to have the best thing to create the best work. I think especially in the photography world, it's really more about the artist than the gear itself. So I think money wise, just, going back and forth of, is this going to fully sustain me in the future? Bookings come in very random. It's not like we have a expected income every year. It can change month to month very quickly. In the winter months, it can be extremely low compared to your summer months. It really just depends on the season. So I think that can be a bit intimidating when it comes to the financial aspects of the business side of it.
Right.
Just not knowing exactly where your income is coming from every single month can be intimidating. But that takes a lot of, trusting in that it is going to come from somewhere eventually.
Right. Well, I'm going to pause you
So yeah,
right there real quick because I'm hearing a theme
yeah,
of sounds like you're organized, in the sense of understanding where the income is and your expenses. Um, can you talk about like where did that skill develop with, when you had your job, you had a paycheck and I guess, basic expenses, especially at your age. Again, being the young 20s era. And also now you're growing a business. And so on the budget side of things and organization, it took a little bit, I'm sure, to start developing like, oh shoot, I got to make sure I keep track of this and that. How did that start?
yeah, yeah. I will give all the credit to my mother. She is incredibly organized when it comes to anything spreadsheets. She
Mhm.
does admin work, all of that kind of stuff has kind of been like engraved into me. I think there was also a few education courses I took that briefly would touch on that and, staying organized. And being able to have either a monthly budget or being able to keep track of your expenses in a spreadsheet was very helpful to me, even though it is a bit more of the boring side of it and not something I particularly love, data entry and all of that. I think it is nice to be able to look at your expenses and income every month and seeing, this is where I maybe lacked a little bit and where I need to pick up the marketing so that I can continue to have a steady income. But yeah, I think all of that is through my mom and her instilling all of those principles into me and making sure that I have a spreadsheet every single year
Yeah.
with all of my tracking my expenses and all of that.
So
So
you had
yeah, I give all the
a
credit to her.
mentor, a teacher. Yes, it was your mom, but a qualified mentor,
Yeah.
obviously someone with success. So following best practices, as they call it, seeking out knowledge from those that have been there before and do a good job. And that's kind of like, again, as you as a coach and teacher, people would seek out, ask you questions. Well, how do you do this? Well, here's how I do it. And obviously, if they're getting
Hmm.
good results, you mimic that. No, this has been great. And I love how, you're organized and you've succeeded with expanding into the wedding photography and seeing helping others. Now, do you have a small team? Do you realize it just you or are there other, I know you mentioned like second shooters and things like that. Is it a network thing that you're working on or is there someone that you always love? Well, he's my right hand person I'm always reaching out to. How does that, as you've evolved, where you are you now?
Yeah. Yeah. Still just me for everything right now. So for wedding packages, I do offer the option of adding on a second photographer for couples. And that's usually just through working with someone that I've worked with before. Either I've second shot for them or they've been able to be with me. Like I said, the community in the Cincinnati Columbus area is very lovely and everyone is usually very helpful for everyone
Okay.
else. So it can be as simple as just putting out a message on your Instagram story of, hey, who's available for this day? And talking to other people who can vet them and maybe say that they've worked with them before. So usually that's the only team aspect. I think in the future it would be lovely to have someone that's like solely my person every single time. But that will just happen when we continue to grow. But yeah, as of right now, it is just me through everything else, which has been nice just to be my own boss and get to tell myself what to do
Yeah.
instead of others. But in the future, would love to have some things outsourced so that I have more time to shoot instead of
Right.
being behind a desk.
No,
So
that's cool. But friends of yours or family and just connections of your circle, are there discussions of paying off debt, car payments, credit cards, or are people doing, they're okay, but things are still not where they want them to be? I don't know, just kind of in general, what are you hearing? What's your life experience in your circle or in the community of your business owner network? What's going on with
yeah.
all the money side of stuff?
Yeah, I think everyone can see the economy is incredibly different right now and a lot harder than it has been in the past. I think specifically for weddings, there are kind of less inquiries all the way around with a lot of friends and business owners in common with people are just wanting to spend as little as they possibly can for services that are worth a lot more. And especially with, having even more years since I've started, obviously there's more people that have gotten into the industry. So there's people that are, providing the same service I may be providing for three times less. And people are going to be going with that because they think, and it might be better, it might be great, but there's also a side of the experience they have is not necessarily there. So it is hard, with the economy right now. People are just trying to get as much as they can for as least as they can. So definitely in the photography space, at least there's been very slow inquiries right now, which has been fun to navigate. But I think just also trusting my faith is a big part of my business as well, and knowing that doors will open where doors are supposed to open. And um, yeah, the economy is just crazy right now with everything. So everything is kind of higher.
Well, and that's
Just
it. And then
yeah,
one, there's a couple of things that I'm catching from what you just spoke of. One, your attitude. It starts with I'm going to figure this out. There will be challenges. I know things will be okay. I'm committed. I'm going to keep going through this. So for you guys out there, make a decision that there's going to be ups and downs. Success, as you know from coaching and running a business and being in there, success is not like this. I mean, it goes down and then goes back over here and you're like, oh, I'm set back. And sometimes you back up and sometimes you leap forward and things happen. But again, you have your pulse in there, but you're committed in your attitude of, I'm going to make that. And, everyone talks about a positive mental attitude versus a victim mentality, but the positive mental attitude doesn't mean that it's always going to be happy and things. It just helps you get through the tougher times. So that's one of the things, the mindset that I'm hearing from you as we're talking here. That is one consistent thing that I'm loving to hear from you is that you're energetic, you're excited about the future, you're going to face challenges head on because you're going to make this happen. Just like with your finances, we can get the knowledge is out there, information's everywhere. It's almost too much that you don't even know where to act. You can't even take that first step. But as the slide shows here, behavior and habits and emotion is 80% of what's going on there. So you don't need the spreadsheets. You don't need the tactics. You don't necessarily need all the little things. You need your attitude fixed and the behaviors and the day to day of going on there. So the line on the slide says personal finance is 80% behavior and only 20% head knowledge. And that ties into so many different things, whether you're an athlete, whether you are running a business, and whether you're just doing life and you're trying to make things happen. It starts with your behavior, your habits, and your emotion. So, but Leah, do you have like money reserve? Do you have emergency funds or things like that?
Yeah, I think the main thing would just be savings. That's kind of where I kind of keep things in the off season and
Yeah.
making sure that, planning ahead for, oh, what is my predicted income for this month? And
Yeah.
then seeing if that would tie me over for the next couple months, just kind of predicting from what it was maybe last year and then kind of adding that into what that might be for this year.
Good.
But yeah,
So
always having a good back for, whatever could come in the
well, and
winter.
to your habits, you've been sticking this out. You kind of have seen some trends. You've gone through it. So it's not like the first time you had a challenge, you're like, uh-oh, I don't have any income this month. I quit. You're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, again, being prepared. Where are you first? How do we develop those habits? But a lot of people are facing, again, living paycheck to paycheck. So they're like, oh, that's great that you have some extra income for buffer. We want to there's some stats that Ramsey Solutions has a whole team of research and they put this together. So I actually put this slide together based on their info, but over half the country is dealing paycheck to paycheck. And this is up from 2021. It was 42% in 2021. Now it's 54% paycheck to paycheck. For nearly half are struggling with monthly bills. So what are some of the solutions? What do I do? Well, you first start with trying to understand where you are. So again, quick plug on that solution sampler of why am I broke? We can help visualize that. So a money coach like myself can help you guys get a snapshot of where you are, and whether that continues on, it doesn't matter, but helping, that's why we're here. And that's why we're coaching and why we have our businesses is to serve others and to help each other out. Um, but I know, again, your generation and talking about that, but everyone as well. But there's these major changes regarding money and the stress that people are facing right now and needing some solutions. But credit card, there's $1 trillion in credit card debt. And then plus there's, percentages and all that stuff. And they have student loans, which is 1.6 trillion student loans. My gosh. And had discussion with a client recently. The main challenge of their debt is just their student loans. They have everything else figured out, but how do they attack that? And again, it's step by step. And talking about Dave Ramsey and the baby steps, you may not have heard that before, anybody, but first step one, you got to know where you are and how do you organize stuff and get on a budget. And then you save $1,000, which is their baby step number one. So you have some cushion for the little things that happen. And then you list your debts out, smallest to largest. And then you attack that first debt with a vengeance. That's the quick. If you've never heard the Dave Ramsey baby steps, he's done it for 30 years and helped millions get out of debt and actually even pay off their homes and build wealth. And it's amazing. But another one, I have a video on this too, on the chain number 3 of all this is the auto loans are nearly $1.6 trillion in auto loans out there alone. So car payments is one of the biggest reasons that help or keeps people in debt. Real quick on the debt snowball. Again, got to know where you are, start with a budget, and then you are going to save $1,000. And then you are going to attack your first debt after you list them all out with a vengeance. And then when you pay that first debt off, then you use that money that you were using for the first debt and you pay it on second debt. And that's quickly some of the action steps you guys can get into. And again, the every dollar budget that is for Ramsey Solutions is free. It's out there because there was a time years ago, I was a little older than Leah. There was a moment I had where I looked at my bank account and it was close to zero. It would fluctuate. I'd have some money in the negatives. And I can remember sitting down and going, how did I get here? I had some shame. I was pissed. But like you talked about a door being open, just because my energy was there, I was talking about it. They had a book for me. I actually had a physical book I read and just helped guide me in an organization. And so I actually kind of got that first step of how do I get out of this? But I had an action thought of I'm going to get out of this versus, no, this is just life and things are happening. So I had my moments and it turned around. And so, yeah, I've gone from broke to now my wife and I, we're building wealth. Our main action step right now is focusing on trying to pay off our house. But I'm not so far down the road that I don't remember those feelings. And I can still remember paying off my car a few years back and what that relief felt like. But it took some time. It takes struggle. But again, with credit to Leah, it takes an attitude, well, vision. Where am I going? And you're going to do something about it. Again, she had an income. She decided to go for, a side business and started small, and it grows and it grows. And she's still facing challenges that she was just talking about with where things are and the economy. But I don't hear that you're quitting. Are you going to continue and grow? What's your next year look like? What are some of your goals that you're shooting for?
Yeah. I think my biggest goal has been traveling. That has been something that's felt very fulfilling and something I've always wanted to do since I was young. So this past year, I actually had my first international wedding in Mexico, which was very exciting. And that was just kind of gave me a bit of a boost of like, oh, I really can like get out of the country and be able to celebrate these love stories in different parts of the world, even. I've also been really honing in on doing more of the East Coast. I've always loved just the tropical ocean and everything over there. That's something that feels fulfilling personally. So getting to kind of combine my passion with that as well has kind of been a goal I've been moving towards. So my goal has to kind of been moving into being more of a East Coast photographer instead of just Ohio. So I've been taking steps and taking weddings maybe with a little bit of a discount to try and get myself in the places that I want to be in first to show that I have been there. And then through that, hopefully building clientele in different states and getting to do more international weddings would be definitely a goal of mine. But also just still loving portrait photography and getting to serve families and seniors here has been really sweet as well. So kind of been going of trying to have at least 2 to 3 out of state weddings a year, potentially an international and then the rest here. Just so I feel grounded in the work that I can do here, but also have those big dreams of getting to travel and work with planners that I just have always admired their work. So yeah, that's really
That's
been
really
my biggest
cool.
goal.
So as I'm again, all the nuggets that you're giving, I'm hearing, there's times where, hey, I kind of got my steady work here. And then every once in a while you get a bigger event that, oh, that's a bigger payday. And that's awesome. And here, but also that you're willing to, I want some experience first and I'm going to show this and expand. So again, you know where you are. You're having a plan. Your attitude is the biggest thing that has always been a bright side of what I've known about you and seen and been impressed with as a young person. That you just make it happen and you face your struggles. As we fall down, we get back up as our athletic background, in coaching. I'm excited for where you're going and what you're going to be doing here. So, and I appreciate you taking some time to share kind of where you are and that it can happen, guys. You can make things happen. You got to make a choice and seek out mentors, seek out knowledge, but take action because I'm going to wrap this up with the quote that I've been using. It's, they say that we teach what we need to hear and nothing changes if nothing changes. And I know that happens in my life too. If we want something different, we can't do the same thing. We're going to have to make a change out there. And when you have your moment, you're ready for it, or even that little, I'm going to take that first little step, do it, take that action. So Leah, thanks for your time.
Thank you.